Great. Where are you?
I'm in New York on Long Island. I live about like 45 minutes outside of the city, so not too far.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where in Long Island?
And Hicksville in Nassau County. Yeah.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
Is it do you have snow piles?
Yeah, I got about a foot piled up outside. Yeah, so it's been snowing every like week so far. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the dog days.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so I wanted to get started asking some questions about being able to work on Gail Daughtry, the film, and what really inspired you to take part in composing the film, and how did you become attached to it as well?
Well, David Wain and Ken Marino, who co-created Gail Daughtry, are two of my oldest best friends from when we were kids. And we've been making things together since then. And so anytime we all get a chance to work on something, it's a no-brainer. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter when it is. It's just the sort of original gang. It's the old team and its family. We also have this really great kind of creative shorthand and trust in one another, which is such a rare thing, because usually, like,
recording stopped.
Did the recording stop?
Yeah, I just had to free up some space in my computer. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. But should I wait for you to start recording again?
Oh no, I have another recorder going. That's back.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Great. So, oftentimes I'm working with new collaborators, which is also wonderful, but it sort of takes a while, just like in any relationship, to sort of get that almost psychic shorthand and common sensibility together. And with David and Ken, it's just been there since we were very young boys. And so that was my motivation, was David and Ken are making a new movie, of course, let's do this. And then I read the script and I fell in love with it, and started writing the music, which really was just kind of flowing even from script stage. Just little ideas of sounds, like Gail is a wind instrument, and here are some of her themes, and I don't know, oftentimes when the initial ideas flow so easily, I trust it, and it's usually a good sign to say yes.
And speaking of the script and reading it through, how does the story really help the initial inspiration in creating the score? And at what point, after reading the script, do you really just jump in and really get started in coming up with ideas? Do you do it during the reading or like immediately after? What's that process?
Well, it depends on the project, but with Gail Daughtry, it was immediately after reading the script. Oftentimes, I won't come on to a project until it's already been shot and is in the middle of being edited, and usually by that point there's a lot of temp music plopped in, so the editors and the director and the producers already have an idea about what they want musically. But with David and Ken, because we've worked together for so long, and because I came on early for Gail, it really allowed us to kind of create from the ground up a very original sound. Also, baked into the script is this sort of like LA homage, odyssey, like to all eras and neighborhoods of Los Angeles and Hollywood and movies. There's a sort of, I don't know if this is public knowledge or not, but there's a Wizard of Oz structure to it. Gail lives in Kansas and she's a hairdresser. She has to go to Los Angeles and she winds up meeting a bunch of new friends and sort of like ne'er-do-wells along the way who all have this epic odyssey together through Los Angeles. And so musically, from the get-go, my initial instinct, and also David and Ken's and my initial conversations were all around how to really honor all of that and sort of celebrate and connect it all musically, right? So we were going from, I don't know, when was Wizard of Oz made? 1930, something like that. Old school, big MGM, orchestral, choir, the works, to kind of 50s and 60s West Coast jazz, a little smooth, and even 70s LA punk, and then 2010s, 2020, like hip hop, pop, that sort of like fizzy, almost hyper pop music that you hear coming out of people's cars, and so we knew too that we wanted there to be original songs in the movie, and I come from a songwriting and band background from when I was younger. So I wound up partnering and collaborating with one of our very, very dear old friends who has also been a part of a lot of projects that we've all done together. Her name's Amy Miles, and is just a wonderful singer-songwriter. She and I were in a great band called Baby together in the early 2000s in New York. And so we've worked together on a lot of stuff, and it seemed right because it's Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Past, that we would have a female voice, not narrating the journey or the score, but rather than having lots of different voices in the song sections of the musical, whatever you call it, tapestry, they would have a singular voice. And so it was, as always, just like a total pleasure to get to work with my pal Amy on these songs. So we wrote a bunch of new songs together, reworked an old Baby song from when we were in that band called Free Los Angeles. So it seemed like a perfect opportunity to kind of revisit this music and update it. And then she's really she's almost like the good fairy, the good witch. It's the voice of the movie. And then on the score side, my assistant, Simone Wilson, really was just like an invaluable collaborator on the instrumental score side of things. So he and I were really working on the score. Amy and I were working on the songs, and then David and Ken and I were just batting ideas around all the time. And they're both great musicians and have lots of good musical ideas. And we actually play together in a band called Middle Aged Dad Jam Band. So it's very flowy and it's very band-like, even when it's visual. And then it became this really interesting, really, and I think this is probably the case with any project, especially one as kind of ambitious in scope and vision as something like Gail. And we always, our bar is very high in terms of how we challenge ourselves to try and keep things fresh, keep things moving, and make sure that it's really, really funny and that the music rocks. So we had everything from MGM, orchestral, to all these original songs, some pop, some punk, some whatever, and then this stuff that was sort of in between, that sort of might be score, but that reminds you of songs, but isn't. It's sort of neither nor. It's like a bridge between the score and the songs. So it was one of those things where, in theory, on paper, we kind of looked at each other and thought, well, this should work. Maybe, but it could also be a total kitchen sink nightmare. And and it just wound up working, and it's just such a wonderful, satisfying feeling when you sort of like, you have all these different ideas, which are like little jigsaw pieces that are sort of floating, that haven't quite connected yet, and to watch them connect is like one of the most deeply satisfying things about like the creative process of making movies, doing scores, doing them with friends, and then when it clicks, like when the movie premiered at Sundance a few weeks ago, it was just like seeing it with a whole other audience and getting to ride the ride with new eyes and ears was just like, it was so satisfying. It was like the final coin drop. It's like, okay, it's working. It worked. So yeah, that was the long answer to your simple question.
And speaking of Sundance, what was that experience like for you to be able to go with the rest of the cast and crew and see the movie with the audiences at the festival as well?
Oh, Sundance was the best this year. It was the final Sundance in Park City. I've been going since 1998. My old band, Shudder to Think, started scoring movies like New York indie films in the late 90s. So we started going then, and then Ken and David and all of our friends and I wound up going in 2001 with Wet Hot American Summer, which was a blast. It was an incredible experience, and we all had a ball. And, it took 20 years for that movie to catch on, 10, 20 years. So we were still hustling so hard and having to try and kind of still convince larger audiences of the the sensibility that's always been natural for us since we were kids, but was not part of the mainstream until maybe the last 15, 20 years or so, of which Wet Hot, I think, was a big part. But when we went to Sundance, it was, it was hard. We were hustling in 2001, and then coming back this year. Not that it's not hard. It's always a lot of work making something, and hopefully making something good. But we no longer had to prove or explain ourselves in terms of our sensibility. People knew what they were getting into. They know the sort of types of jokes that David and Ken really like. And they know a lot of our crew now who are in all the movies that we make together and TV shows. So it was this really profound, might be overstating it, but it was a very, very sweet sort of bookend. That it was the final Sundance at Park City. We got to have this experience together again, which felt equally funny, equally vital, but without the, that young, hungry, gotta get to this party, gotta meet this person, gotta try and get this next project set up. It was just like, yeah, we get to do this together, and what a life. So that was sort of what Sundance was like for me anyway. So.
And after going to Sundance, what's coming up next for the film? Are there any other festivals coming up that you're all going to?
I'm not really sure. I know they've been talking to distributors. I don't really know. I try and, or I should say, my wife always, because I every day want to just text David and Ken, be like, what's going on? What's the latest thing? And my wife, who happens to be Tom Lennon's sister, right, who's in the movie, and he's a part of our, part of the state, part of our larger group of friends. So it really is this like tribe. Megan, my wife, is always like, they'll tell you when something comes through. So it takes all of my self-discipline to be chill about this. But I really, really, really hope it finds the right distributor, because it's the kind of a movie that people will enjoy so much in a theater with an audience laughing together. For sure it'll find its audience, and for sure it'll find a good platform or a streamer or whatever, but I'm really, really hoping that that people can go and have like just a classic movie-going experience with it. And we'll see. I don't know.
And speaking of the actors as well and the cast, at what point were you able to maybe see their performances or like any cuts or of the film, and to see like how they approached really bringing the characters to life on screen to help create the score as well?
So I started writing a lot of themes before seeing, as I said, just like right after I read the script and before seeing anything, which is sometimes great and super helpful, and sometimes you wind up throwing out scrapping all the original ideas once you start seeing what's actually on film. Because I mean, it doesn't matter what the page looks like. It often is radically different visually. In this case, I would say it was somewhere in between, where we wound up using a lot of the original themes that I wrote, but they mutated and really evolved and turned into all the, sprouted branches and weird new fruits, and then there were whole new ideas we needed to do, and I'm sure there was some stuff that we wound up scrapping from my original idea. So it was sort of this gradual, organic build where once I started seeing what the movie looked like, first of all, when I read the script, and maybe it was just because I knew it was an independent, lower budget or not huge budget movie, I was picturing it as more of a slightly scrappy indie movie, a smaller looking affair. But when I started seeing what they were shooting and even visiting set, I was like, oh, this looks like a big Hollywood movie. So it really changed the scope of the score and opened it up to different places, different types of sounds and styles that we could use, because the brightness of it, the sort of fizziness or poppiness of it,